Here is our transfer case saga. This is the 207 that I just pulled out of the Chief, and this is my spare 231 that I have sitting around. As you can see, that's a problem. A lot different length. So at the very minimum, I need to swap this out to that length, and spline counts are different. Now, if I have to, I can run this case. It works fine in low range. It just wants to pop into neutral sometimes in high range. So, I mean, worst case scenario is I have low range only for the Beast Wars and don't go more than 15 miles an hour, which is probably just fine. However, I would like to get it fixed. I also need to plug that hole. So I'm off to the barn to see what I can find as a speedometer hole fill, because this one is different. I can't put that one in here. And if I'm really lucky, maybe I'll even find a new input shaft. Okay, this thing's always a mess, but there's a bunch of Jeep parts in here, and way back there, a bunch of transfer case parts. So I'm going to take these back to the shop. Found that. I need that. I found these. So I know this one's wrong, but there's so many different options out there. I'm going to take this for comparison. I think that's what I need right here. It's the longer shaft. No, it's not what I need. This is not what I need. It's a bummer. So this is the shaft length I need. It's the spline count I need. Wrong bearing. I need this shaft length and internal splines with the big bearing. So poop, I've got things on every side of what I need. I got one more place to look. Well, here's my last hope other than buying a whole new one. So this guy is a 249. Looks like the right spline count, right shaft length, but I can't tell without taking it apart what the bearing size is. This is a, I don't know if you can see that. It's a 94. That is the transition year. So it could be the correct bearing I need, or it could be the wrong bearing. So the only way to know is to take it apart. Alright, so we have transfer case heaven going on in here. So the 207 that wants to pop out of gear in high range. The 231, that is probably what everyone says is the obvious choice, but with the wrong input. And I don't know if I have one or not. The only input I have that might work is this guy right here. That's the right length, the right splines. It's a transition year, so I don't know about the bearing size and the teeth cut inside there without taking this all apart. It's a 249 out of a 94 ZJ that got wrecked, so I bought the ZJ and parted it out. The ZJ was immaculate until it got T-boned and only had 120,000 miles on it. So hear me out. This is a budget build. What if I just bolted this thing right into here? Think that would work? Is it sacrilegious to put a 249 Grand Cherokee case in an XJ? I think it'd bolt up. I might just give it a shot. This is, after all, a budget build, and if we end up keeping the Chief, I can always put that in there later with an SYE and maybe a doubler and all that kind of fun stuff. But again, competition budget build. This thing just might get a 249. funny is that 249 actually bolted right in, and I even used the linkage that was stock with this Jeep for the transfer case shifter. It had enough adjustment. I just adjusted it to the end and it went right in and works fine. So we now have an NP249 all-wheel drive transfer case in our XJ. Well, this is actually pretty funny. The 249, you guys can see it's a 249, bolts right in. We even got our skid plate in there. It fits too, so plenty of room. Pretty funny. We're not going to hook up our speedometer or shift indicator, any of that. Don't need it. The only downside is we have very, very little room here. We'll probably have to cut about an inch out. There we go. About an inch out of our drive shaft. It does go in a little bit, but not enough for full travel. So we'll get that fixed hopefully this week and take this thing out on a more serious trail. Looking pretty good. So the only real reason this worked, that we were able to put a 209. The only reason this really worked, that we're able to put a 249 in an XJ. Normally, no one would ever do that. This is an 84 XJ with the oddball 2.8 V6 Chevy that was mated to a Chrysler 904 transmission. The Grand Cherokee ZJs basically had a 904 transmission with an overdrive, whereas most XJs had a Toyota AWD. Different outputs on those two transmissions. But because this Chrysler 904 transmission has basically the same output as a ZJ Grand Cherokee, that ZJ Grand Cherokee transfer case just bolted right up to it. And there's plenty of room around it. Even though it's a physically larger case, it fit fine. That gives us some advantages and some disadvantages. Disadvantages, no two-wheel drive.
Yeah.
Also, we got to shorten our drive shaft about an inch. So the tail housing of a 249 is about 3/4 of an inch longer than a 207. We would have had to do that even with the 231. Same thing with the 231. It's a little longer than the 207 as well. So that was going to happen regardless, even if I rebuilt that old 231. The advantages. The 249 is free. We had it. Had 120,000 miles on it. It's a great transfer case, I think. Ran good before the car got wrecked. So we had a good free transfer case, and it was less work overall and probably saved us $200 by the time I bought a 231 rebuild kit and I bought the correct input shaft for that input shaft with a gear on the end for the 231. So basically it saved us about $200 to use it, and it was way faster. Didn't have to rebuild it. The other two advantages to doing this, compared to the 207 anyways, is the 249 has a lower gear ratio than the 207 had. 207 was 2.60 to 1. This is 2.72 to 1. So it's like a 231. So we get a lower gear ratio, and the 249 is actually a beefy case. It's stronger than a factory 231J or a Jeep 231. The 249 is built for the V8, the 5.2 Magnum, and so it's got a higher torque rating, wider chain. It's actually a stronger case. So that's good for us. And it's quieter than the 207. The 207 uses straight cut gears, whereas these are bevel cut gears, so it's actually quieter in long range. So a couple of disadvantages, but a lot of advantages. Another advantage is no one likes a 249, so maybe they won't buy my Jeep when we're done with the B-Source.